All right, folks, welcome in. Today we're going to be talking about the tight ends. I'm going to rank my tight ends in the 2025 NFL Draft, and I'm going to give you whether the Rams would draft them or wouldn't they draft them and why. Before we dive into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogie, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Kick. Want to remind you of two things. First off, I've done quarterback and quarterback and running back so far in this little mini series. I don't know how long this is going to go. It's a lot of work, and I definitely underestimated it, so I don't know if I'll get every position done or even close. But I'll try my best to get what I can out. That's the first thing. So quarterback and running back, of this series, those are out. So you can check those videos on the channel. But I also want to remind you that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, all 13 hours of the NFL Draft, Alexis Kraft and I of Downtown Rams will be streaming live on this channel for, I believe, the 6th straight year. So be sure to tune in. We want to hang out with you guys. We want to have some fun. We're expecting this to be the biggest year yet. So it'll be a lot of fun. Definitely be sure to tune in. We'll be essentially talking about every single pick, and you can watch us in replace of the actual broadcast or whatever. It's up to you. I mean, but it'd be cool to have you there. So anyway, let's get into it. Number one here, and of course, I mentioned quarterback. I didn't even tell you. I was like, Cam Ward is my top quarterback. No, he will not be there for the Rams. At running back, Ashton Jeanty, same thing. It's a little different with Tyler Warren. I can't say for sure the Rams wouldn't trade up for him, and I can't say for sure he won't be there at 26. There's the assumption he won't, of course, and there's no reason to assume he would. But this isn't as much of a lock as it is for Jeanty and Ward, so I do keep him on this list here. And here's why the Rams would draft him, and we'll say why the Rams would trade up to draft a player like this if they did it. First off, he's the consensus top tight end with historic 2024 stats. And we're talking about over 1,000 yards, over 100 receptions, a guy that can be utilized kind of all over the field, not just as an inline guy, but also as a slot guy, also as a freaking quarterback, right? Wildcat quarterback. Let's not get too crazy, but Penn State, he was the offense at Penn State. No doubt about it. No questions asked. He was incredible last year for them. He gives the Rams a clear direction as who the franchise tight end will be after Tyler Higbee, who you might not realize it, but Tyler Higbee is statistically the greatest tight end in Rams history. So that's a big deal. When Tyler Higbee's out the door, you will have to replace him. And I think the Rams are looking to do that this year before it even gets to that point. He's got prototypical size and athleticism. He doesn't have like the fastest 40 because I think guys like Evan Ingram kind of broke the mold, right? Evan Ingram, Kyle Pitts. And now all of a sudden, a 4.6 40 is slow by a lot of people. And I'm just telling you right now, it's not. He creates mismatches. He aligns well with McVay's 12 personnel groupings, in my opinion. You can use him flexed out wide. You can use him as an H-back. He had 42% of snaps in the slot. So versatile alignment there for Tyler Warren. He offers the schematic flexibility for a motion-heavy passing game. So there's that. He is an improved blocker. I'll get a little bit more into that because I think there's kind of this assumption that's out there that he's this really awesome blocker, and that's just not true. But he is improved. He got better each year, which is important, of course, playing tight end in a Sean McVay offense. Red zone dominance. Okay, this guy had 7 touchdowns in the red zone. The Rams were 22nd in red zone efficiency. So if you're looking for some juice in the red area, definitely Tyler Warren is your guy. Again, first round projections, so he fits the 26th pick, and he fits a trade up. The Rams, and this is why I won't rule it out, I would be absolutely against this, right? But I wouldn't rule it out because the Rams did try to trade up for Brock Bowers last year, and they did try to trade back into the first round, which they didn't have a first round pick 2 years ago now, and tried to get Dalton Kincaid. So they have tried, and they've had a willingness to invest high draft capital clearly in a tight end. Would they do it again? Well, Tyler Warren definitely fits the Rams offense. I just wish he was a little bit better of a blocker, but let's just talk about it, right? Why would the Rams not draft Tyler Warren? Why would they not? Well, first off, positional values might not be there for the Rams, right? So they've shown in the past they've been willing to trade up. And, of course, Brock Bowers, who I thought was a top 5 player in last year's draft, cannot believe he fell into the Raiders' hands. But there you go. He was worth it. Do they have the same grade as for Tyler Warren? That I don't know. We don't know that. If they're really high on Warren and they have a blue chip grade and there's a way to go up and get him at 15 or whatever, then maybe the Rams do that. But as far as positional value is concerned, the Rams would not draft him if they didn't feel there was positional value there. The blocking refinement is needed, okay? That's another reason. He's got leverage issues, power rushers really just limit his third down readiness. So I see this guy, I know a lot of people are going to be surprised by this because he looks the part, but I see him more as kind of a flexed out H-back type of guy that I don't really see him being in line early on in his career. He'll have to work to that. Now, I do think he has the body composition, of course, at 6'6", 259, to, be that guy. But we'll see how it goes. This is also a deep tight end class. I'd probably say 10-plus prospects I like, in the first 5-6 rounds. So that said, that could also lead to why the Rams wouldn't draft him. Plus, you got options like Fannin and, Arroyo and Gunnar, Helm and guys like that. And, of course, Mason Taylor, who we're going to get to, that might make more sense for where the Rams are because keep in mind, they moved up 12 spots last year. They gave away the second-round pick in this year's draft. So it does put the Rams in a little bit of a position here where you got to be smart. You can't just blow your whole draft on one pick. So that's why I don't think they'll trade up. And, of course, I think it's very unattainable for them to get him at 26. But a trade up, while I do believe is unlikely, that would also be the reason the Rams would not draft him. He has occasional concentration drops as well, so that's another thing. But a really good player, I'm going to go with the idea they probably don't end up with Tyler Warren. Number 2 on my list, and he might not be on everybody's list, but Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green, 6'3", 241. This guy's a yak monster, elite after the catch. He's got natural hands, great receiver, versatile threat, can win inline, in the slot, out wide, as an H-back. I mean, I think he really has a lot of versatility there. I think he can work in line better than people give him credit for. His ball tracking is, outstanding. He can be a real seam buster over the middle. He has play strength that I think is really required for the position, but also, he's a good route runner. He's an underrated blocker, as I mentioned. He's got a feel for the game. You really see it on full display. He finds the space just instinctively, just sits down and makes the play. The thing that really stands out to me of why the Rams would pick up a guy like this, he's very durable. And the Rams have dealt with injuries at this position. He played 24 games over 2 years. So despite his physical style of play, Harold Fannin Jr. keeps himself alive. He's not getting killed over the middle. And when he does, he gets up and he makes plays after the fact. Oh, by the way, that level of competition, yeah, he blew that out of the water. Penn State, Texas A&M, 19 catches, 282 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I don't think the level of competition is an issue. But why would the Rams not draft him? Well, as I mentioned, I think he's better than given credit for inline. He's still not the best inline blocker, okay? The size is limiting his effectiveness, in my opinion, there. As far as reach blocks and in pass pro, he's not going to offer a ton right now. I do think he can grow into that, but he's not the best at it currently. He's got tight hips. If you're really looking for more of a flexible tight end, this guy is going to give you kind of a wonky running style, and he's not going to give you that flexibility, really not like sharp cuts. He makes guys miss. It works for him. But as far as the elusiveness at the next level and his yak ability and his ability to make guys miss, which I think is a huge reason why you would draft a guy like this, because Tyler Higbee led the team in only playing 3 regular season games last year for the Rams in missed tackles forced. by a tight end. Well, I'll tell you this right now. If that doesn't translate to the next level, he doesn't have a lot to go on now, does he? So I think it will, but that is something to consider about why the Rams wouldn't draft him if they felt those tight hips are going to stop him from, contributing on that level. He doesn't have like breakaway elite speed. I think it's fine, but if the Rams are looking for like a better straight line speed guy, he's just not the guy for them. And his stop and start ability just isn't there because, like I said, the hips really just hold him back. He has a hard time planning, redirecting, and really just it reduces the agility in those tight spaces. And then really the flexibility isn't there. Like I said, you have stiff hips, just stiffness all around. It makes route running a little bit harder to do that. And of course, tackle breaking at the next level becomes harder because these are better tacklers than what you're going to find in college. So all those things considered, though, I think he's so much like two tight ends Sean McVay has worked with. One he drafted in Gerald Everett, but the other one, of course, in Jordan Reed. I did a video on him, so obviously you guys know how I feel about him, but I think this is a great fit for the Rams on day 2. We'll see what ends up happening. Number 3 on my list is Colston Loveland, who I have a second-round grade on. Again, some of these guys, they might be 8th or 9th, but I like the top 10 a lot for the most part. So Colston Loveland, Michigan, 6'6", 248 pounds. This is a strong athlete. I think I came away, impressed with that. I mean, really good mover, but also just really good play strength, I think. This is a guy that can, he has a giant catch radius. So that's a good thing, and I think the Rams will look at that as well as his precise route running, which I think really fits the Rams' offense there. Just like probably the best pure route runner in the draft at tight end, so that's worth mentioning. He's got good sideline awareness. He's going to keep his feet in bounds. A high-effort player. He beats press pretty easily. He's got ball skills. He can adjust to a bad throw, an underthrow, or a throw that's way out of his radius, but there are reasons why the Rams wouldn't draft him. He could go in the first round, and he could go before 26, and he could go before the Rams even realize they have to trade up. I think this stock is going up. I think there's a chance he's going to be off the board by pick 15, so he might not be there. But the play strength also, while I mentioned that, I still see there are times where he doesn't really have the ability to break arm tackles. He generated very few missed tackles, so while he can be strong and he's shown that ability, I also think there is some weakness there as to why they might not draft him. The blocking weakness and the inefficiency there. He's got some good blocks where, he'll make a nice block or two, and of course he gets posted on social media, and then all of a sudden people are like, see, he's a good blocker. But down in and down out, more often than not, this guy is not a great blocker, not yet anyway. So I think he's really limited to being an outside guy. He's a limited yak guy. This will probably get better over the course of time, especially with that frame. But as of right now, he's really just a straight line runner, doesn't really cut, juke. He doesn't pile up extra yards after the catch. That might be something that holds the Rams back from drafting him. Contested catch. I mean, this is a guy that only had 20% success rate in 2024. Just not aggressive enough on those bad throws. He is still good at making inner adjustments, but when he has to really just bully guys and fight back to the football, he tends to be a little passive in that regard. And again, the versatility limit there, I don't know if I can trust him being an inline guy. That's something they'll have to work towards. And he's passive. I don't really see a consistency there with the aggression. So with that said, I think those are the reasons why the Rams would pass on him, but I think he does make a lot of sense from a pure receiving standpoint for the Rams. Number 4 is Mason Taylor from LSU, 6'5", 251, has great bloodlines. I mean, we're talking about Jason Taylor being his father and Zach Thomas being a part of his family as well. This is somebody that is really starting to fly up the boards. I hate saying that, but it's true. I mean, you have Daniel Jeremiah talking about him as a potential first-round pick now. I had a second-round grade on him. He has a balanced skill set. He's not going to blow you away on tape at anything. He's really just all the way through. He really reminds me of like a Hunter Henry, where he's not amazing at anything. He's just really good at everything. And so really good blocker, really good athleticism, red zone reliability is there. This guy has a chance to be really good. And again, that NFL pedigree with Jason Taylor being, his father is a big deal. Plus he'll be potentially cost effective if he doesn't go in the first round for the Rams. High effort, big time leader. There's an emphasis on, character driven players for the Rams. And this guy's a high character player. I've only ever read good things about him, kind of fits a culture, and he's ready. So is he going to be the best in the league? No, but I think he's going to be Mr. Reliable that can stick in the league for the next 10 years. And you're looking at him and all of a sudden you're like, wow, this guy kind of turned into Jason Witten. And that's really kind of what I see there, is that he could be a reliable Jason Witten type receiver if he hits that ceiling. Now, his blocking is an impact, right? Like what I mean by that, it's impactful, but he's not like a super strong blocker. He holds his own and he's a solid blocker, but he's not like dominant. Like you're not watching George Kittle trying to bury the guy 6 feet under. It's not like that. It's good enough, but at the NFL level, that's probably not good enough. So that's something to keep in mind. The downfield explosiveness just really isn't there. So you have to understand, if you get Mason Taylor, you're getting a jack of all trades, master of none type of tight end. He did have 3 drops, minor concentration drops in 2024. So there is that. I think just the kind of peripheral like really tight window stuff can kind of bother him a little bit. And he just really wasn't utilized a ton in the passing game. So I think his best play is ahead of him, but he does have a lower ceiling than some of the other guys, in my opinion. And it is a deep class. So those are reasons why the Rams wouldn't draft him. I would say he fits the Rams like a glove. And if you're looking for the non-flashy type, this guy really fits what the Rams normally look for in their tight ends. So keep an eye on Mason Taylor. Wouldn't be surprised if he's wearing horns after the NFL draft. Number 5 out of Texas. So we know the Rams will be interested by virtue of that and that alone. Gunnar Helm, 6'5", 252. This is somebody that really is a balanced receiver. They utilized him pretty well at Texas. He's also a strong blocker, and I think he fits the Rams' offense in that regard. I think he has some versatile, alignment. Guy that can play inline. He could play the slot. He could play on the outside. He's got good hands. Only 2 drops this past year, so I think he would really complement. And the big thing I like about a player like Gunnar Helm is you'll see with the Rams, they like having that kind of bootleg play action. They like running that play to start almost every game, it feels like. And Matthew Stafford throws it, and it goes for 2 yards to Colby Parkinson. He doesn't break a tackle and doesn't make a guy miss, and there's nothing there. Well, Gunnar Helm will turn that into maybe a first down. He has really good contact balance, in my opinion, when watching him. So, there is a lot to like there. After the catch ability, 7.8 yards after the catch per reception. Chain mover, could be really good in the quick passing attack. I think he offers some ability as well in the screen game. So that's something to keep in mind. I thought his Oklahoma tape really stood out. So these are some things that I think the Rams will be looking at. I think he taps out as a tight end 2 with potential tight end 1, like low to mid tight end 1, ability. But he's a high effort player. He's coachable, and he would fit their scheme and their culture. So, I think the Texas connection's there. There's a lot to like with Gunnar Helm, but why would the Rams not draft him? Well, he's not the best athlete. I don't think he has the explosiveness that you would like. The downfield impact, I feel like he's more of a, death by 1,000 paper cuts, kind of like a dump it off type option. Now, he's not a bad route runner, but he's not like great. And because of the lack of explosiveness, he's not really going to offer a ton downfield. In a deep class, and there are better blockers as well as more dynamic receivers, he might not be an option for the Rams. So that's something to keep in mind. I will say Texas also had a high-powered offense. They threw the ball a lot, so it did inflate his production a little bit. But also, to be fair, Quinn Ewers really, in my opinion, held back a lot of these pass catchers, including, Gunnar, Helm, and I've already said Matthew Golden. So I do think that's important to keep in mind there. But those are some reasons why the Rams wouldn't draft him. Number 6 is Elijah Arroyo from Miami, 6'5", 250, really high upside receiver. Really, I thought really quality season at Miami. Good at, I would say elite athlete at this point. 4'5", 840, I believe he ran, and 38-inch vertical. I mean, this is a guy that has some really, really good reps on tape. Slot guy, mismatch, had some really good opportunities at the Senior Bowl and came through on them. A lot of people were really singing his praises leaving Mobile, Alabama. He has effort. So he shows the coachability. He has effort as a blocker. So that's something there. This is also a projection here where he could go in the 3rd round. It does give the Rams an opportunity to get him. So these are some options. He's got red zone prowess, 5 touchdowns in the red area. Again, I don't have to tell you the Rams struggled in the red area last year, 22nd in the league. But also, he's got some big time. You see, there's some games on tape where you're like, this guy can be a problem. Why would the Rams not draft him? He does have an ACL tear on his resume, so that's something. There are some durability concerns there. He's not a great blocker. The technique is just not very good. So I don't know if that necessarily helps them right now. Probably really doesn't combat. It doesn't really go together with Tyler Higbee either. He's a really unrefined route runner, in my opinion. And I think really he's going to be limited to more of the vertical seam buster type stuff. Maybe you try to get him out in space and you throw some bubble screens to him, but he's just not like a great route runner. He is a raw blocker, like I mentioned. He does have a drop rate that's a little concerning. So there are some things there that you have to wonder. I think, really what it comes down to is if the Rams don't have a good medical on this guy, I don't think they'll be interested in him. So we'll see how that goes. But those are the reasons why they wouldn't draft him. There are still a lot of reasons why he's worth drafting. Number 7 is the first surprise, I will say. You might not have even heard this guy before. C.J. Dippre from Alabama, 6'5", 245 pounds. This is a strong blocker, folks. This is a guy that stood out right away on film for me. Really enjoyed watching him. I caught him at the tail end of me finishing this up and was watching more Jalen Milroe, and I just came away so impressed with C.J. Dippre. Was not utilized much at all at Alabama. So why would the Rams draft him? Strong blocker, upper body strength is on full display. He's got red zone potential. I mean, really good receiving grade against single coverage according to PFF. And, this is a guy where you watch the film and you're like, oh my God, he really makes his presence known. When he's involved in the play, he is going to knock you out. When he gets the ball as a receiver, and he's not a great route runner by any stretch or anything like that, and I'll get more into that, but when he gets the ball, he's so hard to bring down. He's going to make you miss. He just didn't get a lot of opportunities. So the effort in pass protection, the effort in the run game as a blocker, I just see him as a very low risk but really high reward player if he hits. And I think the tape just shows a guy that at the end of the day, and the Rams could probably come across this as well, he wasn't really given the opportunity to work as a receiver as often as he should have been. You can see this guy hurdling defenders, carrying piles with him, making guys miss, and he tested pretty well too. I think he's a really good athlete. So that is why they would draft him. And also, he's probably going to be like a round 5 to 7 type of player. I have him at 7. I gave him a 3rd round grade. I really like this player. And he gave me kind of the vibes of like a George Kittle when I first watched him at Iowa. He's not George Kittle. I'm not trying to say he is. But what I will say, George Kittle was held back because Iowa, as great as they are at, just really churning out the tight end products, the problem with George Kittle is that they never really got him going in the receiving game. And you could see the little bits and pieces, watching the tape, you get him involved and you're like, wow, like this guy, I think he was wearing 46 at the time. And it's like you watch him and you're like, this guy is really good. And then he blocked somebody into oblivion. And that is CJ Dippre. But why would the Rams not draft him? Again, limited experience in the receiving game. If the Rams are looking for something that's more of a surefire hit and they feel like the hit rate right now needs to be above 75% on this type of position to invest in it, I'm totally understanding of that, and Dippre probably doesn't make a lot of sense in that regard. So that would make sense. Then also, he wasn't really the primary target, of course, when it came to Jalen Milroe, so there might be a little question about, is he really that much of a mismatch, right? A lot of dump-offs, right? He didn't really run a full-on route tree, so he's not a great route runner, at least show he wasn't. I think he's still raw as a receiver because he wasn't utilized much as a receiver. But the blocking is definitely there, so there's that. Again, this is a deep class, so you could find better receivers and you could probably find as good of blockers as well. There's also going to be other needs, so there's that. He doesn't have elite traits that some of the other higher ceiling prospects might have. And to me, I don't know if he's that much better than a Davis Allen. So I don't know if you're adding him, then you're just adding him to add a guy to your tight end room. But if you're looking for a guy to be a long-term option, I don't know if CJ Dippre makes a lot of sense because that's a pretty big risk to say, yeah, we're getting this guy to be the future after Higbee. That just seems like a lot. So one thing I'll say, this guy had 32 reps on the bench, and he's an absolute just... All I kept reading and hearing about was his work ethic. It's insane, like 500 or 600 on the bench. I forget what it was, but this guy is just praised for his work ethic. These are the type of guys the Rams do go after. It is important to mention that. Number 8, Terrence Ferguson from Oregon, 6'5", 247. Why would the Rams draft him? Because he's got a balanced skill set. He's a good route runner. He's athletic, 4'6" guy, works in line and in the slot. Or at least he did at Oregon. I'll get into that. But, this is somebody that has reliable hands, only had one drop this past year, really good contested catch rate, a third down conversion rate, chain mover. He's a high effort player, at least as a receiver. So I think he could work in that regard. However, I don't think he is the most high effort blocker. Okay. He's just not a dominant blocker. It just feels like there isn't as much like interest, and I hate to say that, but when I watch him, that's what I see there. I do think the production was boosted by Oregon's offense, so there is that. The route running, he's not going to separate from the top NFL linebackers, in my opinion. So I just don't know how well he translates. I think there's some good things there, but I think there's a lot of reasons why the Rams would not want to draft him. And I think just the blocking being, just not that great, in my opinion. That was something that I noticed. It just doesn't seem like he puts in a ton of effort in that department. But then again, that can change at the NFL level, and if the Rams see something, then they can end up picking him up. But that's what I have there. Number 9 is Mitchell Evans. This is somebody that I think is going to be a much better pro than he was a college player at Notre Dame. 6'5", 260, high floor, in my opinion. More higher floor than people realize, but I think he also has a high ceiling. So I think when you look at it, he's a good blocker. He's physical. He has reliable hands. Wasn't really utilized a ton. That's why I think his best is yet to come. Strong pass protector, really strong. Probably one of the better pass protectors, in my opinion, in this draft at tight end. So I think he offers an immediate replacement to guys like Hunter Long and, can really push Davis Allen for that third spot. I don't feel confident or comfortable in saying that Mitchell Evans would come in and be number 2 over Parkinson, but there are some things there. And I think the tape against Clemson really showed that this guy can step up in big moments. He had an ACL recovery in 2023. So, he's a gritty guy. That also could be a negative, and it probably will be, but he also had red zone presence as well and really showed up in some of those bigger spots. So that's why I think the Rams would draft him. Why I think the Rams will not draft him. Well, he's not the best athlete. He's just not. The ACL injury does raise some concerns. You normally don't want to see that. He's not the best route runner. He doesn't separate the best either. Just didn't have great production in, Notre Dame. Again, it was a run-heavy offense, so there's understanding there. And Riley Leonard doesn't really throw down the field in that offense. So I guess you can understand it, but there are also options in this draft that you might not have to pick him as high, but they're better dynamic receivers or they're better blockers than Evans. But that's what I would say there. I think that there are some good things there. If they're looking for a guy that can come in right away and challenge Parkinson as, tight end 2, I don't think Evans can do that right off the rip. I think this is more of a long-term, I feel good about him. He's going to be a better NFL player than college player. That doesn't necessarily mean I think he's going to come in and just blow everybody away right away. So that's something to keep in mind. Number 10, as we wrap up the top 10 here, is Thomas Fidone, the second out of Nebraska, 6'6", 245 pounds. He's got speed and fluidity at the position, which is why I think the Rams would consider him. I think he has the potential to be a true mismatch against linebackers. So that's something to keep in mind there. I think he's got some serious upside as a tight end too. He has contested catch ability. I think that the tape really shows, despite the fact he wasn't utilized as much as maybe he should have been. I think it shows a lot of different things that you like to see. Just his movement skills, his ability to play above the rim, breaking tackles, moving the chains. So there's all of that, his red zone prowess. So I think that's something to keep in mind there. And it's a high effort player. That's one thing that I will say right there is that he might not be the best blocker, but I think the Rams are looking at this like, yeah, if they draft a guy like this, they like his effort. Coachability is there. That's why. But why would the Rams not draft him? Well, unfortunately for Fidone, he's had 2 major knee injuries, and to me, that raises a huge red flag durability-wise, especially on a win-now team, while a team is also looking at the future, and this guy isn't quite ready to just come in and just dominate. He's also a raw blocker, okay? He's an unpolished route runner. He's a raw blocker. The limited production could cause concerns. There are safer options out there. You might even have to spend a little bit of a higher pick on him than some of the other guys that might offer about the same. And then, of course, just his inconsistency in the offense. I think the Rams may prioritize more of a proven, healthier, durable prospect, but his tape was fun. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up in the Rams system here if he falls into, say, day 3 pretty late. Number 11, who was expected to be in my top 10, but I really came away liking Fidone's tape, Oronde Gadsden, the second from Syracuse, 6'4", 241. He's a big slot receiver, in my opinion. Still a tight end, I'll leave him at, but he's got really, really good receiving ability. I mean, probably one of the better receiving tight ends in this draft. He shows the mismatch potential, not just against linebackers, but also safeties. He's got reliable hands. I think this is a guy that can really help you in tight window spots. I could see him going on day 2 or the earliest, like very early on day 3. So that's something to keep in mind. He's got some NFL lineage there. Oronde Gadsden, of course, was in the NFL. They show the ability on tape, well, at least he shows the ability on tape to really exploit zone coverages. And I think he would align with McVay's scheme. He's got a high ceiling as a move tight end. But the Rams wouldn't draft him, and I'll tell you this right now, because he is not an inline guy. He's really just not a great option for the Rams because he's not even close to a good blocker. I mean, he's a bad blocking tight end. Now, can he get better in that area? Maybe, but based on what I saw, it just wasn't very good. He doesn't have the most agility as well, so making guys miss, like he's not as good at that either. To me, this is a deep class that offers guys that are really good as blockers and are good as receivers. And so the problem is when you have tight ends that can do it both, well, then you look at this guy and you're like, he's really good at one thing, but he's not good at the other. I'll take a little bit of a hit maybe to not have as good of a receiver in this guy, but I know I get blocking, whereas this guy I don't get any blocking. So only 12% of snaps were in line. I just think he needs a lot of work, and I think he's going to get drafted based on that, receiving ability. He's going to get drafted too high, and for that reason, I could see the Rams not drafting Oronde Gadsden the second. Moving on to 12. Luke Lachey, who, you can make the argument Luke Lachey was not far away, by the way, from top 10. I liked his tape. This is an Iowa guy, tight end factory in Iowa. Put in George Kittle and Noah Fant and TJ Hawkinson. So and of course, Sam Laporta. I really like Iowa as a tight end factory. Unfortunately, Luke Lachey, he has some reasons why the injury, of course, has kind of held him back, but this is a guy, solid blocker, because I'll tell you right now, you got to block to play at Iowa. Don't just take my word for it. George Kittle told me that when I interviewed him years ago. Said basically you don't play at Iowa if you can't block, and that's on full display. But contested catch ability is there. He can play above the rim. He would be a cost-effective option for the Rams because I don't think you'd have to spend a high pick due to the fact that he has some inconsistencies on tape and just like his production dip, and of course the injury. So just a high effort leader, a guy that could really work. I think the red zone potential is there as well, and he has got that playing, the play strength and the mental toughness that you need for the position. But why would the Rams not draft him? Well, he is not super quick. It was a very run-heavy offense, so the limited production as a receiver, some people will look at that and say, I know he can do more. Some people look at that and say, he wasn't out there for a reason. It depends on how the Rams look at it. But they're also higher ceiling prospects as well, guys without injuries that were on their resume like Lachey. And so that's something to keep in mind there. But he doesn't have any elite traits. He's not the best route runner either, so there's something to keep in mind there. So I could see them prioritizing more of a dynamic and polished prospect from that perspective. So that could be why they don't draft him. But I like Luke Lachey. I do. Number 13 is Ben Yurosek from Georgia, also formerly with Stanford, transfer there. 6'4", 235. I like this player, probably a little bit higher than where I have him, but this is just how he graded out for me. To me, he's adequate all around. He's got great movement skills. He's a really good athlete, can work as a move tight end. This is a guy that they'll really appreciate his blocking ability. I think he shows the coachability. He got better each year as a blocker. So this is somebody that I think, you could probably attain on day 3, I would assume. So that's another reason. He shows reliable hands. He played in a pro-style offense, of course. So there's that. He can line up in the slot. He can line up out wide. He can line up in line. Really, really hard worker. Super high work ethic, and I just feel like he's a super low risk guy. Might not have the highest ceiling, but he's got a pretty solid floor that he'll make a 53-man roster. Now, why would the Rams not draft him? Well, he didn't have a ton of production, only 12 receptions, 168 yards in 2024, so that raises concerns. He has a lighter frame, so he's probably going to have to bulk up, but there are other guys that are already bulked up and know that they can play at that size, so that remains something. I could see the Rams not going after him because he doesn't have any really standout traits. He's a good athlete, but aside from that, there's just not really a ton there. The upside isn't quite there like some other guys. And the problem is, it's really hard to project a player like this because he went to Georgia and really wasn't utilized as anything more than really a blocker, and it really kind of clouds the evaluation there. He was a hard player to evaluate. I liked him, but I could see the Rams, preferring more of a dynamic receiver at tight end, and I just can't say that Yurosek is that since I don't have the sample size to know if he can be that. But that's kind of the CJ Dippre talk, except I think he showed more. That's just my opinion. Number 14 is Jackson Hawes from Georgia Tech, 6'4", 253. probably the best blocker in the draft. I mean, he is an absolute freight train. He's a freak show. He's great at everything. He can move block. He can block from the inline spot. He can block out wide. Really physical, and he's going to use all of that frame to really show you that. No idea where he's going to go in the draft. I would say day 3, so I think that's going to be a good opportunity for the Rams to draft him, which would mean why the Rams would draft him. He's got a nasty edge, really feisty guy, high effort, the toughness. He blocks routinely through the whistle. He's what I would call a guy that really just knocks you off the television screen. So what I mean by that is when he's blocking somebody, you're going to see him just fly right off. He is not on your screen anymore. He's blocking that guy into oblivion like he's Michael Oher from The Blind Side. So I love seeing that. Really good pass protector as well. So reliable on the outside there. And I think he's a really low-risk player because he can just come in and he is going to be a guy that you rely on as a blocker. Unfortunately, because of those things, why the Rams wouldn't draft him, he's virtually non-existent as a receiver, okay? Just doesn't really offer much. He's got small hands, poor athleticism, really just not reliable as a receiver at all. This is a guy that you draft because you just want a blocker, okay? You just want a really good blocking tight end. The 49ers spent $11 million a year on one. There's no reason why if the Rams want one, they can't draft one on day 3 with one of their 2 6th-round picks. So if Hawes is there and they want a blocking tight end to just be on the roster and say they're moving on from Parkinson, they want to double dip and get a tight end that's a well-rounded guy and has, blocking ability, but is it, a explosive weapon, and then they want to get just a straight blocking tight. This is your guy, okay? This is your guy if you're looking for that. I don't know if the Rams are looking for specifically just a blocker, so that's why I could see them not drafting him. Number 15 is Jalin Conyers from Texas Tech, 6'4", 260, explosive athlete. After the catch ability is there. I think he fits from that perspective. He's a strong blocker as well, and he has above the rim ability. He goes up, he high points the football. He's a red zone threat. I think he's got a high ceiling, can really develop. But of course, there's a real question about the technique. The production was very inconsistent, and I just think when you look at him, I think he has like a lot of the things that you see on tape from a college perspective, but at the NFL, I just think the nuance, the minute details, I just don't think he has those. So, there is a question about that. Polish, there's a lot of different things there. So I think he's got some really good stuff, but there's a lot of question marks as well in his game where, how good is he in this area? Is he NFL good? Is he college good? That's why he fell all the way to 15 for me, and those are the reasons why I could see the Rams passing on him, especially because there's more polished players that are probably going around higher than this guy. So that's something to keep in mind. Number 16 is Brant Kuithe from Utah, 6'2", 235, a red zone threat. Lot of reliability as far as hands. This is somebody that, again, would be cost effective, a day 3, probably a 6th round guy, 7th round guy. He's experienced. He was a 6th year, we call him a super senior. So he adds that maturity, that kind of higher floor type. But, as far as it goes, savvy route runner, really good at exploiting zone coverage, good yards after the catch ability, really high football IQ. Low risk, really high floor prospect. But why would the Rams not draft him? Well, it's the injuries. Unfortunately, he missed the full season. He's missed parts of others. He just really doesn't have the durability to last at this position, unfortunately, at the next level. He's got a smaller frame, so he struggles with physicality. He's not the best blocker there either. So this is, again, more of a receiving guy. This is probably the exact opposite of what you get with Hawes. I think this is a really good receiver, but as far as just from the physicality standpoint, he's just not offering a ton. Only 15% of his snaps in line. So really, I just don't think he's going to be a great fit for the Rams. So those are the reasons why I don't think they would draft him. And the number 17, last but not least, because I couldn't keep watching tight ends. I watched 17 this year, about normally what I watch. Sometimes I watch 20 to 30. This year I watched 17. Jake Briningstool from Clemson, 6'6", 235, comes in. You could call it last, but he made my list, so there's that. Why would the Rams draft him? Well, he's a really athletic, big slot receiving tight end. He's got ball tracking ability. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes early day 3 because of it. Reliable hands catcher, a guy that can, come down with the tough catch in a short window, a tight window. He has red zone flashes, so he can really help you out. You throw the back shoulder fade to him in the end zone. He's strong enough through the catch point to bring it in. He's got the versatility to line up in the slot, and he is a high effort guy. Unfortunately, why they would not be interested in him, he is a bad blocker. Okay, he just is. He might have the effort, but he is not an inline fit at all, and it's really going to limit the Rams and how they could utilize him. Plus, I know he came from the same school as Davis Allen, but I don't feel like, and this is where it gets into this, where you talk about the guys on this, this list, you have to ask yourself, are any of these guys better than Davis Allen? And I will answer that after this one. But smaller hands, right? Really just not like the best, in my opinion, as far as that is concerned. The explosiveness wasn't quite where it should have been. Yards after the catch ability, while it's not bad, it's just not great. And some of the things that he does don't translate to the NFL in that regard. So I do think Cade Klubnik kind of held him back at times, but the question is really, what is he bringing to the table? Is his, receiving ability, is that translatable to the next level? I guess we'll find out when we find out. But those are the reasons why the Rams would not draft him. And again, that is my list. So in case you are wondering how I have it, again, and you missed it, which, of course, don't skip ahead, but some people do. Tyler Warren, number 1. Harold Fannin Jr., number 2. Number 3 is Colston Loveland. Number 4 is Mason Taylor. Number 5 is Gunnar Helm. 6 is Elijah Arroyo. 7 is CJ Dippre. 8 is Terrence Ferguson. 9 is Mitchell Evans. 10 is Thomas Fidone, the second. 11 is Oronde Gadsden, the second. 12 is Luke Lachey. 13 is Ben Yurosek. 14 is Jackson Hawes. 15 is Jalin Conyers. 16 is Brant Kuithe. And 17 is Jake Briningstool. So the last thing I'll say here, how many of these guys is Davis Allen better than? He's better than Briningstool. Briningstool is not the blocker Davis Allen was. He's faster. He's a little bit more athletic, but he's not a better player. He's better than Kuithe. He's better than Hawes. He's better than Conyers. He's better than Yurosek. He's better than Luke Lachey. He's better than Gadsden. I think he's better than Fidone. I think he's better than Mitchell Evans. I think Davis Allen is better than Terrence Ferguson. I think he's better than Dippre. I think he's better than Arroyo. And I think he is about where Gunnar, Helm, and Arroyo is. I'd say he's in between that. Like, would I take Mason Taylor over Davis Allen? I would. Would I take Colston Loveland over Davis Allen? I would. Would I take Harold Fannin Jr. and, of course, Tyler Warren? Yes, I would. So I wanted to point that out because I know a lot of people think I'm done with Davis Allen. I am not. But it is a reminder that that's why when we talk about kind of these bottom tier guys, I'm not as interested. It's no different with quarterback. I am not dying to draft a quarterback right now. The reality of the situation is this. If I can get somebody that has, supreme upside and has potential and offers something that's not currently in my quarterback room for the long term, I'm interested. But I'm not just drafting Seth Hannigan, right? I'm not just drafting a guy in day 3. I don't see the point to that. I think it's a wasted pick just to draft a need or draft a position, but you're not drafting somebody that has really a role moving forward. And that's how I feel at tight end. Davis Allen is better than the majority of these tight ends. So I'm not against drafting a Mitchell Evans, but to be honest with you, I look at this and I'm like, if the Rams don't get one of Warren, Fannin Jr., Colston Loveland, Mason Taylor, Gunnar Helm, Elijah Arroyo, then to me, they didn't really address that tight end position. They might as well just roll with what they have. And yeah, they get a guy like Mitchell Evans that can add, or CJ Dippre. But aside from that, they're not really getting the future there. They're not getting an heir to Tyler Higbee. That's my point. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And be sure to tell somebody. And be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogan. I'll see you guys soon. You guys take care. Later, folks. All right, guys. So once again, just want to let you guys know that you can check out my new side project, The Lounge. I interview athletes, musicians, actors, actresses, all the nine. So definitely check it out over on the Lounge with Jake ELLENBOGEN channel. Be sure to subscribe and enjoy. In case you guys haven't noticed, I do have a Discord channel for my community on this channel. And if you want to be a part of it, it is free. The link is in the description below. You can sign up. This is basically a 24/7 Rams channel, and we are almost at 1,100 members. So if you want to be a part of it, just hit the link in the description below.